I've been a fan of Rock Island Armory since actually before I started doing gun reviews. I've always considered their catalog to be the go-to source for well-built handguns that will last a lifetime but won't strain your budget. This video is not sponsored by anyone, but ArmsCorps did provide the STK100 to the channel for review. And they even included a couple boxes of ArmsCorps ammo, which is much appreciated. But they don't get to approve the video or see it before you do, and I have to return the gun when I'm finished. Like most people, when I thought of Rock Island Armory, I always thought of the Model 1911 pistol. After adding revolvers to the lineup, and recently importing some nice shotgun options and the excellent check-made revolvers that I've reviewed here, there was still one big thing missing: a modern, striker-fired handgun.
Okay, I haven't fired a shot yet, but I've made my first mistake of the day, and that is laying this black aluminum pistol out in the hot sun for about a half hour while I was messing around with all my other stuff. So it is certainly warmed up, and now it's time for me to get warmed up. So let me take my very first shots. Downrange, 11 yards away, I have that awesome TA Targets target. I am shooting ArmsCorps ammunition. Seems appropriate, right? It's a really nice sight picture. I would love to have a fiber optic front sight out there, but even with the white dot, very nice sight picture. I like that. Trigger feels nice. It's not a Diva trigger, it's right around 5 pounds. That's what I measured it at before shooting it. Oop. Did not eject all the way. All right, so one round didn't want to eject all the way. One empty case. Let's go back to it. You can hear that reset, I bet. It is definitely tactile. It's a Glock-like trigger, of course. How could it not be? But it's a little bit lighter, pound-wise, but it's very much more crisp and smooth. And it just doesn't have the trigger safety, and I'll show you a close-up of it, is a much wider blade than you're going to have on a standard Glock trigger. And so therefore, it is more comfortable to your finger. It doesn't have that same feeling, like, especially on a hot day when you know how your skin gets real soft and kind of sensitive when you're sweating. It doesn't have that harshness that cuts into your skin, so it feels comfortable. Talk to me later about my manicure. But seriously, that's the kind of stuff that'll bug you when you're shooting, right? And make you not shoot so well. All right, magazine number 2 of the ArmsCorps ammo. I'll go a little faster, but I'm going to try and keep them all in the center of that target. Now that the aluminum grip has cooled down a little bit to sort of my temperature, I can start to evaluate it. It feels pretty good. The gun has a little bit of weight to it. It is putting them where I'm pointing. Looks like we've had maybe a couple hits just tick the outside portion of that target, but otherwise they're all going right where I'm putting them. Well, of course they're going where I'm putting them. That's stupid.
With the patents expired on the original Glock design, we've seen the marketplace rich with copies of that design. Each maker is trying to separate themselves from the pack in some way or another. And now Armscorp and Rock Island Armory have joined that number and are offering their first ever striker-fired Rock Island Armory pistol. If that were the end of the story, it would already be an interesting note, but it's not. Armscorp took a huge stride away from the pack when introducing their new model, the STK100. The difference? It's all metal. So all you guys have been trying to add weight to your Glock 17 by adding stainless steel guide rods, this one is one you might want to try on for size, or better yet, for weight. With a steel slide sitting on top of an aluminum frame, the gun tips the scale at 1.8 pounds, or just about 29 ounces. And it even includes a stainless steel guide rod. Most of the other specs are going to look a lot like a Glock 17 because that is the footprint. But you better make that the Glock 17 MOS because the STK100 comes pre-cut for an optic, and it's covered with a steel plate when one's not mounted. One of the few things that I don't really prefer about this gun is that they chose to mount the rear sight on the optic cover plate, and this removes any chance of using a co-witnessing rear sight on the gun. A lot of folks do it that way, and it's not my favorite no matter who's doing it that way. You can find optics that will include their own rear sight notch, but that limits your choices, and frankly, I don't yet know which of those will or will not mount on this gun.
Okay, I'm not going to do a fancy schmancy accuracy test with a rest and all that kind of stuff. Ow, even with a towel under this thing, it is hot. So let me start by saying this is not my first experience with a black aluminum grip on a handgun. And the previous times I've had that experience, it has been equally unpleasant on a hot day. So for whatever it's worth, I would definitely recommend keeping this thing out of the sun if you can, in between shootings. Okay while you're holding it because you're shielding it from the sun, but man, I'll tell you, if you leave it lay, it's tough. Even with a towel over it. I might have to put it underneath the table in between shooting. All right, so before I got distracted by my flesh being seared, what I was going to say is, going to do a little bit of accuracy testing, nothing fancy, just 11 yards downrange. I've got that Optics Planet target that I like so much with dual bullseyes. So I'm going to shoot a group of 10 each of the Armscorp that I was shooting. That's Armscorp 124 grain. And then I'm going to shoot 10 rounds of Fiocchi 124 grain. I'm using the same grain bullet because I don't want that to be just yet another variable. I will shoot lighter bullets at some point during the day just to make sure, you know, it handles 115 grain like we'd expect. But anyway, you get the idea. One less variable, 124 grain against 124 grain. I am using the two magazines that did come with the gun, so I'm not going to introduce any variables by different generation Glock mags or any of that. So this is, right now, everything Armscorp. It's the magazine that came with the gun. It's their gun, of course, the Armscorp. So right now, the STK100 is using the magazine that came with it and the ammo that came with it too. Armscorp, 124 grain. And I'm going to go up top. And the only thing I'll say before I pull the trigger here is I'm going to use a center hold in both cases, and I'm going to try not to alter my hold based on what I see. So hopefully we'll still get the respectable group, but it just may not be where we would prefer it to be. All right, that's not too bad. It looks like I started out good, and then just, you know, natural fatigue starts to set in. So it's probably a lot of shooter error there, but that is part of it. So when I go back and measure that group, I'll probably call out the best 5 in addition to the whole 10, so that we eliminate some of my just, you know, my can't shootedness. Oh, shit. That way we can eliminate some of my error and my, you know, just fatigue from the equation. So I'm going to go down to the bottom part of the target now with the Fiocchi 124 grain. Okay, I'm guessing that's probably going to be very close in group size.
My 11-yard groups measured 2.4 inches for the arms core ammo and 2.7 inches for the Fiocchi. Those were both 124 grain bullets, and I later shot quite a bit of 115 grain ammo with no issues.
Okay, well, I did make one adjustment to my process here, and that is I laid a white towel over the gun while I wasn't shooting it and reloading my mags and stuff, so that hopefully that'll help. So I'm at least not going to do a replay of the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark where I leave the imprint of the gun in with the palm of my hand. Okay, this is, for all intents and purposes, an all-metal Glock copy. So, of course, it takes Glock magazines. And it comes with, or Arms Corps shipped the gun to me with 2 magazines that are not Glock magazines, but they are copies of Glock 17 round 9mm magazines. So I brought a couple Glock magazines to try out to see. So here's a Glock Gen 3 Glock magazine, 17 rounder of course, from a Glock 17. And let's see how it does with that. And I'm going to expand my horizons here a little bit, try out some of these other TA targets that I've got downrange. All right, am I low? Yep, I think I was low. So the aim point on this one wants to be a little bit on the high side, which is not very much like a Glock. They tend to like a 6 o'clock hold. And this one's liking maybe a 12 o'clock hold, if not a center hold. All right. But the magazine worked just fine, functioned with no problem, and as you see, it locked the slide back. But what about, you may ask, the Gen 5 Glock magazine? Well, luckily, I brung one. 17 round, 9mm Gen 5 Glock magazine. Yeah, let's try the target I always have trouble with, and that is the square paddles on that other dueling tree. If you say you're going to suck and you suck, does it really count? It's like, it's okay if I suck as long as I called it. Man. All right, I'm going back to the other one. Because once I lose my, my hits over there, I don't know where I am. All right, that was a good hit, just didn't move the paddle. 2 hits, pretty much in the same spot. So this one's definitely shooting low for the aim point. I'm holding the white dot pretty well, almost at 12 o'clock on those targets. And they're 6 inches in diameter and they're 12, 13 yards away. So just to give you an idea what that is, it's a fairly small target in the sight picture, but still a little bit on the low side.
I did have a couple of minor malfunctions, both related to extraction and ejection problems. More testing would be needed to make any kind of an educated guess as to the reason. They were isolated enough that I didn't bother trying. I complained a bit about the rear sight integration on the slide cover plate, but it is a nice rear sight, and I found the sight picture very good. I like the weight and balance of the STK100. It feels good in the hand when it's not too hot, and the texture provides nice traction. The trigger measured consistently at around 5 pounds even, and it's a very pleasant trigger to use. I think it's one of the gun's best features. For those of you looking for that binary response, I like this gun. I'm planning to do a part 2 on this gun, which will look at the optics, mounting options, and hopefully get an optic on it and try it out with that, and take a deep dive inside the gun to see where its DNA differs from a Glock, if anywhere.
Okay, a couple hundred rounds under my belt today with the STK100 from Arms Corps, and here are my sort of organic thoughts as I wrap up my range day. This is the gun that I didn't see coming, and I don't think a whole lot of people saw coming. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of murmur and, pre-launch news or anything like that, hey, by the way, the guys at Rock Island Armory and Arms Corps are releasing an all-metal Glock. Call it the STK100. So it was kind of cool to see that news release because, again, I had no clue. So let me address a couple of what I think might be common questions that people will have, and I haven't watched other reviews and I haven't read other information and other views. I really like to form my own opinion in absence of all that kind of stuff. So probably everything's been said, but again, I'm going to say it my way based on what I've experienced. The first question might be, why? Why would anybody make a Glock clone with a metal frame? Well, why not? Why not? Because I keep saying that choices are great and variety is great. And if something doesn't appeal to you, something else does. So that doesn't appeal to other folks. So it's just nice to have a lot of choices in the market for firearms. On top of that, it's a nice gun. I mean, it's a very good quality gun. I've spent a lot of time with it before bringing it out to the range, doing photography work with it and just looking at it, taking it down and cleaning it really good. And it's a good gun. It's well made. It's high quality materials and the workmanship looks to be excellent. So there's that. And then if you're a Glock shooter or you like the Glock clone and you want something that, I want something that I can still play around with like I do my Glocks, takes all my Glock magazines and things like that, but I want that little bit of extra weight, like maybe for the IDPA match, I want a little bit heavier gun so that I can manage the recoil a little bit better, things like that. Well, this is definitely a lot heavier than your garden variety Glock. The trigger on this is better than a standard Glock trigger, that I will say. I have not yet tried to put an optic on it. I did sort of ballpark it for a few that I have laying around, and it's got an interesting kind of a cut. So not everything is going to fit. I'll try to give a little bit more information on that, and I will try and put an optic on it. Maybe I'll do a part 2 or a follow-up on this initial review with an optic. I kind of don't like to put an optic on a brand new gun when I bring it out to do my first review, because then everything kind of becomes about the optic instead of about the gun. So I really prefer to use the open sights. So I might put a sight on it and we'll do maybe a follow-up, a part 2 deep dive, whatever, in a little bit down the road. I believe that this is a standard Glock barrel. I'll confirm that when I get it back to the workbench. I'll take a look at it when I break it down again to clean it post-shooting. I do that because I like to, number one, I like to clean guns after I shoot them. This is not my gun. It was sent to me by Arms Corps, and I haven't decided yet whether it's going to go back to Arms Corps. So I always like to return guns in at least as good a condition as they were when I got them. Which for this one actually wouldn't be difficult because I'm not the first reviewer to have this gun. And I could tell that immediately when I got it because it was pretty dirty. I had to do a lot of cleaning even before I was going to break out a camera and take pictures of it. And I wanted to do a lot of cleaning and lubing to make sure it was in good condition before I brought it out to the range. So this gun has had X number of rounds through it before I started working with it today, and I've put a couple hundred through it today. So it's certainly probably a well broken in gun. As I said, the aluminum grip does get very, very warm, downright hot, and difficult to touch if you keep the gun exposed to the sun on a hot day like it is right now. It's July, so it's hot everywhere, except maybe in Australia. So that's the one caveat, but you know, I have the same problem with, you know, my Shadow 2 and other guns that have aluminum frames or aluminum grips on them. They can be scorchers if you let it sit in the sun. So bring a towel with you or your, you know, your pistol rug or shooting bag or whatever, and give that gun somewhere to sit out of the sun when you're loading your magazines or not actively shooting it, and you'll be fine. The grip on it feels nice. I like it. My hands are sweaty because it is a hot day, and the grip is doing a good job of still keeping the pistol pretty steady in my hands. It's not slipping around a lot, so that's a good thing. Okay, I'm going to put the last 10 rounds through this thing that I've got ready, and then I'm out of here. I'm going to go back somewhere where the air conditioner's running.
If you have questions about the gun, you do have some time to put them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them for you in part 2 if I can. Be sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss future videos, and do me a favor and stomp on the like button. And I will see you next time.